I think we're missing Akarsh. Akriti, can you please tag everyone who is not?
Yeah, I'll just call him. Vedant, can we get an update about the recording?
Yep, sure, sure. Hi teams. Before anything, are both the teams okay with the OC recording the speeches?
Yes, op is okay.
All right.
No
Is
problems from our side as well.
fair enough. Just a clarification. If in between one of the speaker wants to opt out of this, which means that maybe op is okay, but let's say DLO is not okay with it, you can say and we can stop the recording because we have to take care of your personal preferences. All right. With that, OC, you have a green light. You can do that. Hi everyone. My name is Vedang. I'll be chair for this round. Congratulations for both the teams for making this far. With me on the panel are
I'm Akash, my pronouns are he, him. Good luck.
Hi, Pratyaksha, panelist. All the best.
all right. With that, we're good to go. All the best to both the teams. PM whenever you're ready.
Um, Hello. Atiksha Agarwal going as PM. Slight request. Please do not record me if you could confirm. Maggie
Just
can
give
hear.
me a minute. I'm sorry. Let me just get this across.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Hi, I have just confirmed with the OC that the PM speech will not be recorded. If there are any other speakers who wish to not be recorded, kindly do let me know in advance so I can confirm the same.
I'm sorry.
I have informed the OC that your speech will not be recorded. In case there are any other speeches that do not wish to be recorded, please do let me know in advance so I can communicate the same. Thank you.
Thank you. So Atiksh Agarwal going as the PM, starting the case from side government. Starting my speech on the self count of three, two, one. Panel, you have to understand what happens in both the scenarios. Firstly, you have to understand what is the incentive or what is the ideology of the league in Model B. When they promote this model, they are adopting a much more player centric approach. They are giving the players some bandwidth to actually fail and still have a chance to continue playing and still giving the team a chance to continue playing. So, what happens in this scenario? They are not just promoting love or passion for the sport. They are allowing players, even after failing to be a part of the league, sending a message out there and starting a narrative that sports is not just about performance, it's about something more. Now I'll get back to why this is important. Secondly, in Model A, the thinking of the league is that we should only give the peak performers a chance. We should only give the consistently best players a chance. And anyone who messes up even one tournament is not a good team. And therefore, I must have only the and since I must have the best teams possible in my league, I must eliminate them. This sort of ideology is can be more will have motivations of commercialization for the sport. That is to say, I will only want to broadcast the best teams or the best matches, and that is why I'm adopting this approach. Now, what are the problems in these approach? Right, what happens in this scenario is, firstly, we have to understand for the various stakeholders involved. Firstly, we have players. We have three types of players: newcoming players. We have players who are at their peak right now, and veteran players who are past their peak right now and are in some sort of between their peak and the retirement period. Then we have to understand that there are coaches and that there exist big leagues and small leagues. Firstly, then you have to understand what happens for players who want to actually enter these big leagues. They have a very good chance of entering these big leagues because in Model B, uh, they will get some adoption rate, right? And since a team which is not very good has a chance to actually hire these players, they will give these players a considerable amount of opportunity to play in these leagues. Because what happens when, as a newbie, I enter a big league? Whenever I enter a team, I do not have any substantial position in my team or do not hold substantial value in my team. Therefore, I do not get the sort of respect and the value I deserve in my team, and therefore this affects my performance. Furthermore, I do not get the sort of traction I could get from the public, and I do not get the sort of value or the money or the opportunity to shine in my team while playing. Now, this is much less likely to happen in our paradigm because in Model B, these players are sort of important for the team. Now you have to understand why is it better off for the veteran players in Model B. Model B, veteran players who are past their peak have less pressure on them to consistently perform through every year. That is to say that even if I miss out performing one year, I'm not demoted automatically. This reduces pressure on me and this allows me to continue playing my sport for a longer time. Because as a veteran player, if I'm demoted to a lower league, it is A, against my dignity, and B, I'm much more likely to actually take an early retirement and stop playing my sport in order to avoid such a scenario where actually I have to play in a league which is lower than mine. Why? Because panel, you have to understand that players are people who have extreme love and passion for their sport and extreme dedication. After years of work, they attain a certain sort of stature in their sport and a certain sort of respect and command a certain amount of authority. And after and if they lose this sort of dedication, because getting this sort of position consumes so much of themselves, they are deeply attached to this position, and in a scenario where they are likely to lose such a position, they will retire from the sport early and prefer to keep the position intact and the dignity or the sort of stature they have intact in society. Now you have to understand, panel, that coaches who exist not only in the big and small leagues are why are they better off? Coaches of low performing teams in the big leagues are better off because there is less stress on these coaches. There's less stress on these coaches for uh, because their team are not that likely to actually lose. I'll take that view in a second because their team is not likely to get demoted, and that is why it's better for them. I'll take the PY.
Won't you say having the stress to perform better can be actually beneficial for sports because sports is competitive in nature, right?
Yeah. So exactly, this is the exact difference you're talking about. Model A promotes competitiveness and commercialization of the sport to a degree that it can be detrimental to the players, players who are veterans, players who are past their peak. For such players who have actually played in the league and the sport for a long time and have a considerable fan following, uh, will are much less likely to continue playing the sport in Model A. And in Model B, you actually are giving these players some bandwidth to fail, and you are giving some value to not only the performance of the player, but you are also giving some value to the love and the dedication the player has and the commitment the player has shown to the league. Batsmen. Take IPL and take RCB. This is a lineup which has a great batting order but a poor bowling order. Now they lose the tournament and they arrive last, but that does not mean that the players in the league are not deserving of another chance. That is to say, panel, that firstly, if this team is demoted to a lower league, since this team has such a big cult following, fans who only turn up to watch these players will not actually watch the league anymore, because you have to understand, panel, that the leagues of a that fans of a league are fans of the league for two reasons. Either they love a team or they love the players a lot. If they love actually the sport a lot, they are symmetric on both the paradigms. But say they love the players. Now, what sort of players can a person love? Players he has seen for years, or players he knows has a good record. That is the veteran players. Since veteran players are better off and much more likely to play for a longer duration in our paradigm, these fans are much more likely to stick out and watch the league and buy the merchandise and just in general promote the sport and play the sport and love the sport in our paradigm. Secondly, panel, why the on the metric of fans who are involved deeply with teams are on our side, because these because since you are much less likely to actually get demoted and your team is much less likely to lose its um, position in the league, these fans are retained. That is, if I'm an RCB fan, I will continue to watch IPL. But after RCB is demoted in Model A, I will much less likely to watch IPL, because you have to understand, panel, that the number of people who just watch a sport or a league only for people, uh, only for certain people or certain teams are large in number, and they are asymmetric on both the paradigms. And for all these reasons, proud to propose. Thank you.
I thank the speaker for the fine speech. Hello, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So I am Shagundil Mukherjee. I'll be going as the leader of opposition today. I'll be opening the opposition case for today. Uh, my preferred pronouns is he and him, and I'm going to start with the self count of three, two, one. Right. So panel, kindly understand the motion today. The motion today says that in our paradigm we wish to argue between the two prominent types of sports league model that has been suggested. We say that model A, which punishes the worst performing teams and by relegating them to a lower level, while on the other hand it is model B, which is like rewarding the worst performing teams by offering the first few opportunities and selects the new players in the annual draft. So this is the motion today. But then in our paradigm, we are here to argue that model A is definitely and much more better than model B in both the levels of sports and for players. So we here, our stakeholders, are placed in a much wider context, whereby we are taking into account both the micro and the macro level of understanding, which is the players level, or the players in their benefit, as well as sports as an academia itself. So we are trying to say that model A, which employs relegation, it incentivizes teams to constantly perform at their best to avoid the threat of relegation to a lower league. So this fosters a culture of pure competitiveness, and it's a, mind you, healthy competitive environment that is created, and it drives teams to continually improve. So additionally, it provides opportunities for smaller or less financially endowed teams to rise through the ranks, and it is moreover the fear of relegation which keeps the fans engaged throughout the season, as every match holds significance in determining the team faith. So it is in this context that I would like to bring in the cult followingness or the fan followingness, which links to popular culture that or the hype that a particular team has around this. Now this is directly linked to the high revenue earnings. The entire sports faculty can earn high revenue through such hype, through such fan followings, and it benefit, and in the long run, for the long run, it helps and it benefits the sports to enhance itself. So for the case that the government has opened, it is a partial understanding of the community, but in our paradigm we are trying to take the cream of the cream in sports. So we are here to connect to players and to the sports field well through the, I mean, people who watch matches, who are interested in sports, they can connect to players and their particular teams and their particular sports here well. And here also we are clearly mentioning, and panel must note that the quality of sports as a field of entertainment is getting uplifted, is getting enhanced at every score here, at every level. It is enriching, it is being enriched as a higher means of entertainment. So here, model A is promoting a more dynamic and justified sports environment compared to model B's reliance on drafts, which can sometimes reinforce disparities between wealthy and struggling teams. So model A with its relegation system is superior to the model B for sports and players at all levels. So as I said already, that it promotes more competitiveness and it's a just system. So here, to say that model A fosters a long-term sustainability and growth for the sports as well. It its relegation of incentivizes the teams to invest in youth development, coaching, infrastructure to remain competitive rather than relying solely on draft picks. So this investment in grassroots development benefits the sports as a whole by nurturing talent from a young age and ensuring development of a pipeline of skilled players. So model A enhances players' development and career opportunities in a competitive environment where every match matters. Players are pushed to constantly improve their skills and performance. And additionally, the opportunities for smaller teams to rise through the ranks means more players have chance to showcase their talent at the highest level, regardless of their team's financial standing. So overall, it is to say that Model A's relegation system promotes fairness. It is competitive. It is sustainable for a long run, and it helps for both the player development as well as the team's overall functioning, as well as the enriching the or making the sports a better choice at large for all players involved. It is not only so that in the government's paradigm, they have not proposed any practical approach to the PM speech. We couldn't approach. It's not a practical approach that they have gone, but it runs on a very moralistic approach where in practical sports should work on the rounds of elimination and choosing the cream out of the, I mean, the best out of the best. So here it is, in our model we are proposing that it's beyond commercialization and it is enhancing sports, making it a best form of art and entertainment. So uh, in the government's case, they have tried to, what the model they have proposed, they are trying to say that the purpose of the league in itself and its importance is getting demolished and diminished uh, at every end. And they talk about pressure, but I would like to rebuttal that this pressure is uh, there, but it is an healthy competitive pressure and it doesn't harm the players or the team itself. So thus respecting the players who put through dedication. They talk about love and dedication for sports, but it is the true dedication that we are playing it through the side of the league. So our case is more team centric, giving the entire panel of entire panel of sports to being a team game itself. So I hence, I've rebutted that sports is a matter of fairness and just scenario that revolves around justness. And here in our model, we are trying to propose such a case scenario. Hence, I'm proud to oppose. Thank you.
I thank the speaker for the fine speech. I call upon DPM. Here you go. DPM whenever you're ready.
Uh, Hi, my name is Dhruv Pawar. Wait a minute. Hi, my name is Dhruv Pawar. My preferred pronouns are he slash him. My PI preferences between the fifth and the sixth minute. Please do not type in the chat. If you have a PI, raise your hand. I have no specific tap preferences. Um, I'll be starting my speech on a self count of three, two, one, go. Okay. I'll start my speech by pointing out the major stakeholders in this debate. The major stakeholders in this debate starts from the teams. The team consists of the management of the team and the league as a body, which is a commercial body, the players, the coaches, and the fans. Now, I will try to prove to you why all of these stakeholders are better off in the model B than as compared to the model A. So, okay, let's talk about teams, the league, and the fans together. Okay, the league is basically a profit building organization, and the league wants to maximize its viewership, and the league wants to maximize the number of people watching it so that they can sell more merchandise and so that they can get more viewership through TRP and through more people watching their sport. The teams also the incentive of the teams is to win more trophies for the team, for the glory of the team, to to win more trophies for the glory of the team, to get more viewership, to be able to sell their merchandise, and to be able to increase their fan base. Okay, now let's talk about the fans. Just like my PM characterized, fans, there are two types of fans. The fans that are in the scope of this debate are the fans who watch the sport for the sake for the sake of the for the sake of a specific player, or for the sake of a specific team. For example, if a fan watches a sport for a specific team, he will not watch the sport if that team gets demoted, because we know that in most sports only the highest league is broadcasted on television or covered through media. So a person who's a fan of, let's say, XYZ team, which was first in division 1 of a sport and which was broadcasted and talked about in the media all the time, but now that team performed bad in one season and it got demoted. Now the fans of this specific team, who only watch the sport for this specific team, don't want to watch the sport anymore, because the only incentive for them to watch the sport was for the specific team. So once this team is demoted, there will be a drop in viewership because the lower leagues are not broadcasted on television or in media, and they are not talked about as much either. So what this leads to is a loss in viewership, loss in TRP, and a net loss of revenue. So we can clearly see three stakeholders worse off right now in model A. In model A, the teams are worse off, the league is worse off, the fans are worse off. In model B, what happens is that in model B, we see that since a team is much more likely to not, teams are not likely to get demoted. So what happens is that even if a specific team is losing, fans have a sense of emotional attachment to their team. We see instances where fans have been supporting the team since their childhood, well into their old ages. Like for many football teams in England, people support their teams and throughout their entire life. So even if a specific team is performing bad in a specific season, or maybe even 10 seasons, still the viewership of that team will continue, because those fans will keep watching the league just in order for their team and for their favorite players, uh, just to see a chance that this team can make it and this team can win it. So on in the case of model B, there is more viewership because these fans who are loyal to their team keep watching. In the case of model A, if newer teams are promoted and if more established teams are relegated, these teams will not have viewership, and there will be more viewership more on our side. Therefore, the teams as well as the league is benefited from the revenue as well as the sale of merchandise. The fans are also better off on our side of the paradigm. Let's talk about the other stakeholders, players and coaches. Okay, viewership is exists in sport because, as we know, the teams want do not want to. If we consider a world where the model A prevailed, the teams do not want to get demoted. So what do they do is the management puts excessive pressure on coaches and players that if you don't perform well, we will not allow you to play on the team. So when these people hire these new draft, what happens is that the newer players are very important for the teams that were in the bottom. So what happens is that these newer players, since they get the first pick, the newer players are usually players that have shown a lot of promise and are very talented. So when these people hire these teams hire these players, they are more likely to give them an opportunity which they would not have given these players in the model A, because they want to decrease any chance that they lose. And in model A, they do not want to risk their win on a new player. And since the lower teams are already have less capital as compared to the higher teams, they will not get as good newer players to start on their team. So since they don't have good newer players, they will not allow them to play on the team. I'll take your POI.
Don't you think players would get lax and not uninterested in improving the performance in your paradigm?
I do not think players will get lax or uninterested to improve their performance in my paradigm, because in our paradigm, what happens is that the players are fans are the followers of a specific player. The entire media is focused around teams and specific players. So what happens when a player does not perform well, it gets highlighted in the media. Now because this is highlighted in the media, the player also has a incentive to perform well. Also, there is still a profit driven system even in model B. But in model B, what happens is that the teams are competing to perform the best in order to win the trophy, not to get relegated. There is a difference. When you're trying to win something, there is a different form of pressure than when you're not trying to get eliminated from something. Okay. Also, the opposition talks about how the players can showcase their talent. Players from weaker teams can showcase their talent. This mechanism already exists in model B, where players from weaker teams are able to go into the newer teams through mechanisms such as transfers or through draft systems, etc. Okay, so through this, I've proved to you why all the stakeholders that I have highlighted to you are better off on our side of the paradigm than the opposition side of the paradigm. Thank you.
I thank the speaker for the fine speech. I call upon DLO.
Hello, I'm Shretana and I'll be speaking as the DA today. Preferred pronoun she, her. Your preferences, don't write in the chat, just raise your hand anytime. I'll ask for the POI. Just give me 15 seconds, then I'll begin. Okay, I'll begin my speech on a self count of three, two, one. Okay, panel. So understand the very nature of our motions here kind of forces us to take into account what sports itself is actually, right? Because the whole model A and model B is something that is intimately connected to sports, right? Sports itself is something that is a lot about competitiveness. It is a lot about fairness, and this is going to be one of my important constructors today. The idea of fairness, what players actually wish to achieve when they play sports, what they drive for is to win, right? You might say that okay, players are not going to be disappointed if they lose one, say their model or whatever. But what all of the players want is they want to win and they want to be rewarded for their wins, right? So when you see in a system that continuously that even if you're winning, the losing teams, the say lower ranked teams are getting any sort of reward that is better than your teams, which is higher ranked, that is going to demoralize you up to a certain extent, right? See, the idea of fairness is integrally linked to model A, which is our side of the paradigm, right? See, you perform well, you get rewarded for it. You don't perform well, you get punished for it. That's common sense, right? While on the model B, everything goes against common sense, where they're rewarding the worst performing teams by giving them the earliest opportunities to select new players or whatever. Now, we are not saying that just because of this, their performance is going to incredibly increase or something. So the situation kind of remains the same at the end of the day, right? Now, the PM and the DPM have brought in several interesting points, which I will be rebutting right now. The first one is the commercialization aspect. They want me to believe that the commercialization aspect exists more on their paradigm, which is absolutely untrue, right? We see that the owners of leagues, everything, they invest a lot more money, a large amount of money in their teams, in the betterment of their teams, in the Premier Leagues and La Liga or whatever, than they do in the NBA and NFL or everything. We see that Premier Leagues or La Liga, they have a huge fan following all over the world where people are interested in their favorite teams, in their favorite players or whatever, while the government may view this as something negative, something that is actually bad for the sports, we view it as something very positive for the sports because there's this huge cult following for these specific players or the specific teams. Say if there's a match between Barcelona or Real Madrid going on, a large amount of fans will watch just because of the names present there, right? Now this is very good for any kind of sports because this is going to raise up viewership ratings. This is going to raise up the fans' interest in it, their interaction with the sports and everything. It is all over better for the popularity of the sports, especially in this age, in the 21st century. The popularity and the reach of everything, the marketing basically of things is extremely important in this capitalist society, right? You can go and on about principles. You can go that how their team is that the other side is better because see lower teams are getting to rise up or whatever, but the commercial aspect is something that is very important on a paradigm, right? Because the more the team rises in status, the more a team performs better and becomes one of the top teams, say, the more revenue they are going to generate, the more stable position they are going to be in. And see, they are not just getting it just like that, right? They are getting it because I'll take your POI in a second. They're getting it because they have performed well. They're getting it because they deserve it, right? So it is not that we are giving handouts to anybody. They perform well, they deserve the chance to be better, and that's why they are in that position. And it gives a satisfaction to the players as well, right? They have this mental satisfaction that, oh, if I perform well, I'm going to be rewarded accordingly. And I'll take the POI now, then I'll move on. POI?
Yeah. So understand that in our models, you actually pay
Quick, quick,
allegiance to
quick.
fans who have authority, who love a player or love a team, and you cannot actually withhold these fans in your paradigm. So how does the sport better off in your terms in commercialization metric?
See, here we are not interested in, say, like withholding specific fans or whatever. Any kind, all people do get disinterested in certain things after a certain point of time. That is normal for things. We cannot expect a particular fan to be obsessed with the sports for years and years and years. However, what we create is a constant state of fan following that exists through all stages, right? So the fan following of players like Messi or Ronaldo, they keep increasing and increasing and increasing. See, even if a particular person might stop viewing their match does not mean that overall fan following is decreasing in any way at all. Rather, it keeps on increasing. And obviously, right now, even if they are not say playing as well, even if they are not playing in as many matches, you see the love for them, the viewership ratings, the revenue they generate is still pretty high, right? So the fans do exist on our side, and see, sports is something that is integrally related to players and both fans, right? So on our paradigm, we are giving an opportunity to the fans to enjoy the sports to the fullest. Where see a match, a real-time match going on between one of the best teams, two of the best teams in a tournament is going to be much more interesting for a fan. Is going to generate a large amount of revenue as compared to say a low-performing team or a middle or average performing team, where there is no, it's going to be little to no interest for the team at all, right? Also, another important point that I would like to bring in, see, in Model B, what happens is, as the worst performing teams get to select new players or whatever first, these new players who might actually be really good at what they do or whatever get kind of pressured to put themselves out there in the lower performing teams. And maybe if they could have had the chance to be in, say, better performing teams, if they had been given the opportunity to select them first. Right. See, we do see the trend that the best teams in the tournament usually like to withhold specific players, but we also see them taking new players, and that increases the popularity to new heights. Also, in our paradigm, as my LO has also said, that even in our paradigm, the lesser performing players get to perform better because, see, it is completely performance based, right? So you perform better, the recruiters of like a bigger league see you, and they are going to give you an opportunity in the next, say, league for you to come in and play for their team, right? So we believe that sports itself is something that is extremely performance driven. Sports itself is very competitive, and this competition is actually beneficial for a player because it helps them strive to bigger heights. It helps them strive to reach a point of time. If the model B persists in the long term, we'll see that sports or players do not really reach the heights that they usually do under this amount of pressure. This pressure is actually beneficial, is actually good when we get to see like the heights or the levels to which players actually reach their potential, and in Model B, we believe this potential is not reached at all. Right. So I believe the our side of the paradigm fares better because the topic of fairness, profit maximization, and performance enhancement all exist on our paradigm only. With this, I'd like to rest my case. Proud to oppose. Thank you.
I thank the speaker for their fine speech. Gavvip, whenever you're ready.
Right, just give me 30 seconds to structure my speech. Alright, so I'm Adi Govil. I'll be going as the government whip. My preferred pronouns are he, him, and I'll be starting at a back count of three, two, one. So the opposition over here has no case at all. What they come and present to you are just merely a. Huh? Wait, did somebody say something? Sorry.
Um,
Uh,
you can
huh?
restart. It's all right.
So starting at a back count of three, two, one. So the opposition over here has no case at all. What they come and present to you are merely assertions which are very rarely well mechanized or very rarely well analyzed, and moreover they majorly try to borrow from our case and try to present matlab, they have misunderstood our case in the whole entirety of it. So first of all they come and say that the quality of sports as a field of entertainment would be enhanced because there's more and more pressure on the players in their paradigm. First of all, they need to understand that the pressure on the players is mostly symmetric on both paradigms. Why? Because in either case, what happens is that these big league teams have certain amount of fans and certain amount of media representation. Sorry, did I lag out in the middle because the timer stopped for me for a second?
No, you did not.
Acha, okay. So I'll continue. Don't stop the timer. Continue. So these big league players have still a lot of media that is covering them. That they have a lot of fans that are covering them. Social media exists, and a lot of these players go when they see that when they go ahead and see that matlab, if they don't perform well, there are a lot of people who go ahead and criticize them online or on offline forums. What does not exist on our paradigm is that they also have the very hard push on them to go ahead and win these matches, to not get demoted to the down the worse to lower leagues. But what this does is there's already a lot of pressure riding on them, even if they perform bad in either case, right? So they are going to perform well in either case, but what you are pushing is something which is punishing them for not performing well, which is as a principle known to be not very beneficial. And like, it is better to reward someone for their performance instead of punish them for their performance. They try to push that rewarding someone for their performance only exists on their paradigm. It exists on our paradigm on two fronts. Firstly, it exists in the way that people who perform well in big leagues go ahead and get certain cash prizes, and they are declared the winner of their league. They get certain cash prizes. People from teams who have performed not that well, but have performed sorry well, they go ahead and get certain cash prizes. They're declared winners, and they get a lot of fame and recognition. Not even fame and recognition, but they're celebrated a lot in either case, right? And moreover, the people who are playing in smaller leagues, in lower leagues, they also have the incentive of going ahead and performing well, so that people from the bigger leagues can notice them. Now, what happens on our paradigm on the is, as has already been told to you by my first two speakers, is that there is much more fairness in the terms of they also try to push that there will be fairness in their case, which I don't understand. Because in our case, what is happening is that at least the lower teams get a chance to go ahead and compete with the higher teams. At least teams which have a lesser amount of money to them have an opportunity to compete with the higher teams. Why is that? Because they get to have the first pick in the drafts in the so they are basically getting newer players who are better off, right? So in that sense, the total playing capacity, or the total player, well, how the player plays is how the team will play will obviously go up as they're recruiting better players into their team. So they will at least have a certain amount of um they will at least have a certain amount of what do you call it they will at least have a certain amount of likelihood to win as well. So, and moreover, the legacy of the bigger teams obviously does not diminish, because there is already a very good fan following for them, as has already been characterized to you by my previous two speakers. And what we're doing over here is that in both the cases, the bigger teams are not getting affected, but the lower of teams in the big leagues are getting affected, as we have shown to you that they are better off now, right? Third of all, they try to they try to push that uh, they try to push that they try to push for long term sustainability, which I have already shown to you will not be there. And I'll take the POI right now.
How do you wish to establish that the larger leagues will recognize the lower players and lower leagues? How will they recognize?
Malab, there is obviously a method of drafting, and there is obviously a mechanism of drafting that exists. Why do lower leagues exist in the first place? So that people can get promoted to the higher leagues, right? So once they're getting promoted to the higher leagues, they will obviously have an incentive to play well in the lower leagues, so that people in the higher leagues can notice them. Players in the higher leagues, teams from the higher leagues can go ahead and notice them, and they can recruit them to go ahead and play in the higher leagues. Now, okay, so let's compare their case on a comparative to our case. So let's take their best case. Their best case is that there is a certain amount more of competitiveness, and there is a certain amount more of let's say that the quality in their case is more enhanced at their best case, while in our worst case, there is at least the guarantee of a worse team performing better, and there is at least the guarantee of the sports there is at least the guarantee of worst teams performing better. Now, why do I think that one is better than the other? Why is our worst case better than theirs? Is just on the basis of that in our case the game becomes more interesting, as even the worst teams, the underdog teams, are able to perform. And when you see an underdog perform well, the excitement for fans rises, which is the same type of impact that they're trying to poorly push on their side, while in our side the same kind of narrative still exists. So even in their best case and our worst case, we are the ones who are getting better. We are the ones who are being better off. So and mostly most of the impacts that are there in our case has been shown to you by my first two speakers. We are better off on the front of players, we're better off on the front of teams, we're better off on the front of fans of the game, right? uh Fans of the game, Malab, I am not sure what is there left in this debate to tell to you. We take this debate on a very clear margin. Thanks. Proud to propose.
Thank the speaker for the fine speech. Up whenever you're ready.
Yeah, just give me 5 seconds. Okay. Um. Okay, right. Hi, this is Tashmita. I'm the opposition whip, and I'll be starting my speech in three, two, and one. Okay, panel. Firstly, I would like to point out how their claims of taking into account of like all stakeholders are so false, and they are basically running their case on love, compassion. I don't know, like for second chances, more chances, and like things like that. So okay, uh, so let's like dive into. I'll just dive into their arguments first, rebut like show how like our arguments make more sense than theirs, and then like I'll build the world for like show you the world for uh like both the worlds, how they look and how ours is so much better. Okay, now firstly, their main argument is player centric approach. Player centric approach. Okay, what do they say in player centric approach? In player centric approach, they turn sports into a something of a like Disneyland ride or something where everyone's happy, it's magical, everyone's given infinite chances. One should not be dropped because they performed badly in 1 year or something. Oh yeah, whatever. So now before we come to like what we say in contradictory to contrast to that, let's talk about how their argument falls flat on their face because their world does not have a player centric approach at all. Okay, why? Firstly, if understand that if like a team is performing poorly in 1 year and consistently, so there must be some reason, right? There must be something faulty, flawed with their team, right? It could be the management, it could be the coaches, it could be the players, something like that. So now if like the management is in their paradigm, what happens is whatever, no one bothers to look at whatever faults the team has had. There's no retrospection, scope for improvement. What happens is they get better players and they're better off. It's like saying I my exam went bad because I had like bad pens, so I'll go buy new pens to give exam. So that's what they're saying. There's no scope for improvement of like what's already existing. They'll just get something new to, and that's like the solution to everything. While in our paradigm, what we are saying is that there's scope for retrospection, there's scope for our improvement. Look at this. If there's like fault with after being demoted, if there's like a fault with management, there needs to be a management change or something. If there's a fault with coach, they'll need to identify what is going wrong with the players, or what are like the strategy changes that can be made, or what's like the loophole in the strategy. If there's fault with the player, uh, it basically yeah, they'll try to improve. They'll practice more, or like bring in better strategies, or like they'll retrospect where they went wrong and try to improve. Because yeah, now yeah, so in our paradigm, it's much more of like player welfare is much more in than in their paradigm. Now Okay, right. What is like our main argument against this? Main argument against this is like whatever they are talking about, like love, compassion, and everything. And like I think the PM said like sports is much more than just a competition or performance or something. I'm sorry, but this is sports and not exhibition. It's not every art and everything cannot be shown. It's our world sports. We associate the term sports with competitiveness, competition. It's a competition. It's something that is, yes, it's performance based. It's not like, it's not much more than that. And then I'll take the POI later. And then yeah, so in that case it's, and for sports industry, what do we associate industry with, or like sports industry, or like film industry, or industries like this with entertainment. So yeah, there needs to be entertainment question. For example, like I don't know, the wrestling fights or something, or like whatever, or actually whatever. People want to see quality entertainment. People want to have that adrenaline rush, that thrill. Who will win, who will not, like the best quality. They would want to see quality in a competition. So like yeah, that is what sports is about. Sports is not an exhibition where everyone is given like all arts are like displayed and yeah, whatever. So yeah, uh so now their point about love and compassion and fairness and yeah, all of that again, now they are basically running their case on like one thing only. Okay, right. Let's see. If like they said that the commitment and love and passion of the sports person should be valued. I mean, okay, I'm, if the sports person is loves their sport and like is passionate towards it, they would try to improve, right? They would try for their fans to not give like a bad quality performance or something, right? So if they're like demoted, it's not the end of the world. They would want to improve and come back and make comebacks and get better for their fans, but that does not mean that the quality should be comprised upon. uh, and now also yeah, finally they are considering that and not like the fairness part of it. See how unfair that is, because like the teams who are actually consistently being performing well and like putting in all the hard work and putting in all the efforts, what is in this model for them? There's like they we are not saying that they do not like the bad teams do not get to have a pick. Yes, please.
What is the meaning of sportsmanship according to you?
Okay, according to me, the meaning of sportsmanship is competitiveness, but a healthy competition where you give your best, and if you then lose, then you try to perform better. And not like yeah, not like just get new pens to write your exam with and give like a very yeah, that. So yeah, now I'll just very briefly summarize in like the two worlds that we see. The world gov, the worst teams have no incentive for improving. They just get new players to play with. In World Cup, the best teams get no fairness because they do not have a pick. In Gov, again, the coaches have no fairness. Yeah. No, sorry, no incentive to be better. Leagues, there's no thrill, no entertainment, because well, quality has come down and the quality of competition has come down. In our world, look at this. Players have negative reinforcement, which is a very psychologically powerful tool to improve. So the worst team improves, the best team gets fairness. The spirit of sport is maintained where there's competition and healthy competition, and the best and the fittest survives. And it also provides thrill for the fans by providing quality competition and like revenue for the league, because there is quality competition. So I would like to say that our world looks much better than their world. Thank you.
Thank the speaker for the fine speech calling upon Pop reply.
Just give me 5 seconds. Okay, I'm Shritama and I'll be speaking as the opposition reply today. I'll begin my speech on a self count of three, two, one. The main case of side government today seems to stem around these idealistic or say principles basically that they believe would actually work in a realistic or practical manner. But as that opposition has shown again and again, that those kind of dreams are not exactly realistic for several reasons, right? They believe that in spite of all of these negative factors working against them, say still the coaches and fans or the players are going to still have an incentive to be better, to perform better, to enhance their performance or whatever. But as side opposition has clearly proved up till this point that on their side of the paradigm, performance enhancement simply does not exist. It might exist up to a certain extent, but the height of the potential that is reached on our side, because especially because of the competition, is something that does not exist on their paradigm at all. Now, this whole topic of commercialization and revenue coming in, I do not understand how they believe more revenue is going to be generated on their side than on our side, because it is clear from real life examples as well that the Premier League or La Liga, whatever, they do generate a more amount of revenue than, say, the other model B tournaments. On our side, there's much more advertisement, much more investing, there's much more hype basically. There's much more hype around the whole tournament. Fans are more excited. Fans are more excited about watching their favorite teams. Many fans say even spend their life earnings worth of money just to see their favorite player or their favorite team go and play a match, right? Now, you can also take like an Indian example here. The side government believes that older players might not really have the incentive to continue, performing better or whatever. But as we have seen in the IPL only, say MS Dhoni or Virat Kohli, say even if RCB loses like 10 matches, you still see Virat Kohli coming back, right? Because he's a good player, he has a huge fan following, he has proved his performance, and that is the main argument of side opposition. That the selection in sports, the selection in sports teams, the way that selection happens, and should be or the way the teams exist on the whole scale of the tournament or whatever, that should be completely based on performance and merit, right? So if a team performs better, they get to be on the top. If a team does not perform better, they fall down the rungs and they have to play in the lower leagues again. See, in this, people don't really like lose their drive. They don't lose the very drive that takes up sports, that makes up sports. The opposition, the government asked POI where they talked about our idea of sportsmanship, right? What does sportsmanship mean to us? Sportsmanship itself encompasses the spirit of sports, which is to keep going, never giving up, and to perform better and to perform to your highest potential, while also taking into account the highest performance of your team, right? So teamwork and individual performance both are better on our side of the paradigm. The team overall strives to maintain this position they have attained at the top. No team, no Barcelona or Real Madrid or Liverpool would like to lose that position that they have right now, right? At the top of the rung of the Premier League. So nobody would like to lose that position. So it incentivizes them to work harder. It incentivizes the owners or the sponsors of these teams to put in more money for the development, for the improvement of the players. So overall, both individual players are improving and the team itself is striving to maintain their teams. Now it also kind of gives a picture to the lower teams. Okay, this is what the top looks like. This is what I want to achieve. Instead of like everybody existing on this level playing field where there is no interest in going to the top or whatever, now the lower ranking teams or the players also in the lower ranking teams have an incentive, have a drive, have a wish to achieve that higher ideal, to achieve that level of fan following, to achieve that level of revenue collection and everything. So overall, in all the aspects that have been debated today, in all of the clashes, the opposition clearly wins and takes the debate. With that, I'd like to end my reply. Thank you.
Thank the speaker for the fine speech. Gov reply whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Dhruv Pawar, and I'll be giving the gov reply. I'll be starting my speech on a self count of three, two, one, go. Okay. Firstly, I would like to respond to the opposition's claims of what is sport. According to them, sport is competitiveness, sport is merit. But no, what sport really is, sport is what fans experience. Sports is an experience in itself. Sport is a form of entertainment. Sport gives you hope. In sports, when you see a team that had no chance of winning come from the lowest position in one season season to the top of the table in the next season, it gives you hope. It gives you motivation in real life. That is what sport is. Sport is not just about competitiveness. It is about the overall experience of a fan, of a, of the team, of people who experience the sport along with it. It is not just about winning. It is not just about merit. It is not just about competitiveness. It is a it sport tells you a story. Sport helps you draw inspiration from it into real life. Okay. Secondly, I would like to point out the lack of stakeholder analysis on their side of the paradigm. The only two arguments which I got from them was that somehow players are better off on their side of the paradigm, which was also not well mechanized. The only reason was that if they play better, they will get rewarded for it because they're at the top of the table. But they have not successfully rebutted as to why newer players are better. Like we told you, why newer players are better off on our side of the paradigm, because they get to play, because they get a chance to play on the starting team in teams which are weaker, instead of sitting on the bench in a very strong team and not being able to show their talent. Also, we talk about the commercial aspect. They have not given me any mechanization as to why on the commercial aspect they take this debate. They just tell me that we see real life examples of teams with model A having more revenue than model B without actually explaining to me why that is the case. But we clearly explain to you why model B type teams generate more revenue due to retention of fans. The example that they gave you about, by copying our example of RCB, where Virat Kohli keeps coming back and playing for the team, is an example of model B team, where a model B team like RCB, which keeps losing but does not lose hope, where the star player chooses to stay in the same team and comes back every season, even after finishing at the bottom of the table, to keep coming back to win. This shows that the model B system actually works. That people, when there is a fan following of a specific team, even if it loses, fans of the team and players of that team still are willing to give it their best to perform better in the next season. We also give you clear stakeholder analysis. We point out to you who are the stakeholders. We point out to you why these stakeholders are better off in our side of the paradigm. We show you why the teams league, which are, even though they are profit driven organizations, why even they are better off in our side of the paradigm. Except for the teams and leagues, the true spirit of sport, that is the players, the coaches and the fans, they're also better off in our side of the paradigm, because the fans who are seen who are following their team from years, like maybe 10 years, 15 years, have an opportunity to see their team succeed. People who have been fans of a specific team since childhood are able to watch their team on the big screen, do not have to see their team getting relegated to a lower league where they're not even able to watch their team's matches. The players and coaches are better off because the players have an opportunity. Veteran players will not leave earlier because they don't want, because in model A they will not want to lose their dignity. In model B they are likely to stick around longer. Newer players have better opportunities in our side of the paradigm. Coaches will not be fired incessantly just because the team got relegated. So on our side of the paradigm, all stakeholders are clearly better off. If opposition has to take this debate, they have to tell me why the stakeholders are better off on their side of the paradigm. Thank you.
I thank the speaker for their fine speech. We come to the end of this debate. Cross hands and leave the meet for the judges. Thank you so much. All the best for results. Team members, you can leave the meet. Thank you. Tasmita, Karan, and Atiksh Hi everyone, you can leave the meet. Thank
Let's
you.
just join in the deliberation room.
That's fine. What room is this?
Uh, it's debate room 2, deliberation.
All right.